Hi, it's Holly Hanley, and I'm back with some new fence boards. I thought it would be really cute to have a little snowman family on. These are just sienna treated wood fence boards. I bought them, cut them to different lengths, and just drew up a couple little patterns. So I've got, of course, the dad snowman, I've got a little mom, and then two children here. Okay, so of course you can feel free to change any colors that you want and get creative, but I'm going to go ahead and start with some of the Decoart acrylic paints. Okay, and I've got some of the Princeton brushes here that I'm going to be using. You just wet them first, tap off the excess, and for the most part I'm using just a flat brush, and then I've got a couple round brushes for some smaller details and things like that. So here we go. We're just gonna start with his hat. Okay, I've got a little bit of black here. Okay, squeeze a little bit on your palette, and you don't actually have to use palette paper. You can use just like even a styrofoam plate works well. I've got a little bit of paper towel and then just a basin to rinse your brushes out. Okay, so when you hold your brush, this is basic. Just hold it on the ferrule, okay, the metal part of the brush, so that you have lots of control. And I'm just pulling the paint away from that little puddle to load it. Okay, if you notice that there's a lot of water still in your brush, make sure that you tap it off. Otherwise, it thins your paint and it doesn't cover quite as well. Okay, so I'm just gonna start with his nice long hat here. Okay, just give it a coat of black. This doesn't have to be exactly perfect. You can see I rest my hand on my pinky there. I've got a few little knots in the wood. All the fence boards are pretty, they vary quite a bit, so that some of them have a few imperfections in them, but once we get this all painted, it will look fabulous. And so cute. And this is something, I made these for a family project, so it's something that you can do with your kids or whoever that you want to paint with. Okay, so I'm just going around his little heart. I added a little heart on the hat. Okay, but again, it's really up to you. And usually when I paint, I go with the grain, which are the lines in the wood. Okay, the paint will flow on a lot more easily and you'll get a smoother stroke, okay, with less brush marks. Okay, so nice long strokes. So I'm just gonna base coat this in. And you can make his hat any shape. Okay, so when you're all finished base coating that, you can rinse out your brush really well. Okay, and then I'm actually going to take some white and base coat our little snowman. And I'm actually gonna pull in a little bit of blue just for a little bit of shadowing. Okay, and again, it doesn't have to be exact colors that I'm using, but just a nice bright blue will work great. So I gave the little snowman one coat. I let it dry or use the blow dryer just to speed it up. And then I'm just gonna put on a second coat, and this is going to cover a whole lot better. And then I'm going to blend in a little bit of blue. So nothing too fancy, don't worry. I'm just going over with the white so that the blue has something to blend into. Okay, so just one quick coat, doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, and then while that's still wet, I'm gonna take the teeny tiniest little bit of blue on the corner of my brush, and I'm just going to blend a little bit in. Okay, so it looks pretty bright, but you know what, once I'm just gonna go back into the white, and you know, the more that you brush, the more blended it gets, and it's just gonna add a nice little shadow along the bottom of his face and underneath his little hat. Okay, so I'm just brushing in kind of a rounded stroke here, and then I'm going to add a little bit of blue on the edge just to finish off our little board. Okay, so, and it just gives his face a much more rounded look. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing. I don't have to rinse my brush. just gonna take a little bit of that white again. And if you have a little bit bigger brush, definitely use that if you've got a 3/4 inch flat or a wash. Okay, so you're gonna take that white, like this. Take a little touch of blue on the side of your brush, and I'm just gonna blend this in, okay? Like that. Again, if you get too much or it's too bright for you, just pick up a little bit more of the white and go right over top. Just blend it right in and it'll soften. Okay, we can even put a little bit of shadow underneath our little coal dots. Okay, but don't worry too much. Even if you get some blue on the sides or in the center, it's not a big deal. Okay, he'll still look a really nice frosty, icy blue color. I love painting snowmen, they're so fun. Okay, so that's about it for this his little body. Okay, if you want to add a little bit of blue on the side, you can do that. Okay, you can rinse out your brush when you're happy. And then I'm going to paint that little nose. So the first color is just a little bit darker orange. This one covers really well. So this is going to be our first layer. Okay, and again, I'm just using a flat brush. Like that. Rest your hand as much as you can. Okay, so long strokes. And you can make your nose shape any shape that you like. If you want his nose to be a little longer, definitely you can change that. Okay, like so. So there's his nose. And then I'm gonna take a little bit of red and I'm gonna base coat that heart. Really nice and bright red. Okay, and then I'm even gonna tip into a little touch of white and just give it a nice little highlight. Just pulling from the top, you can just kind of blend a little bit in. So you can get really fancy if you want. I'm just gonna brush a little bit of that white for a little bit of a highlight. Okay. And then I'm going to base coat those little coal buttons. Okay, these don't have to be exactly perfect either. You can even add a little third one if you want. Heck, let's add one more. Okay, so I just took a pencil and I penciled on his little eyes and a little smile. Okay, and I'm gonna use, again, that little flat brush. I'm gonna take some of that bright orange and just dash a little bit from the top. So again, I'm resting my hand on my pinky and I'm just pulling a little bit of that really nice bright orange from the top in a vertical stroke. Okay, so it kind of looks like there's a little bit of that. There's some few little bumps. Okay, and some texture on that carrot. Okay, and you can even add a little bit of white, especially after it dries. We'll come back and add a little bit more just to give it a nice little highlight. Okay, so you can see I'm just pulling in a little bit of a rounded stroke downwards just to give him a nice little carrot. Love those colors. Okay, and I've decided on a purple scarf. So I think this will look nice. Okay, so but you can pick any color that you want. I'm just starting with that darker purple because I love a little bit of a base a deeper base, and then we'll add some nice little highlights on top. Very cute. Okay, so these are something that you can keep out all winter long too. And I actually live in Canada, so our winters are quite long. So it's nice, we can keep these guys out for quite a while. Okay, so just painting this in with the purple, and you can add any details that you want. So I might add some little stripes or polka dots. Just gonna add a couple little scarf ends here. Okay, so I've given a coat to that scarf and the little hat band with the dark purple. And now I'm just gonna add some little highlights. Okay, so if you have, these are called lunar blenders. I'm not sure if you would have one or not, but they are a bristle hair mixed with sort of a softer synthetic hair. And I'm just gonna give that a little rinse, okay, just to soften up the bristles a little bit. Okay, so it's, again, I like this brush just because it has a lot of spring with that bristle in it, and it's great for dry brushing and creating some of the whimsical looks. Okay, so basically I'm gonna take some of this lighter purple, maybe a little bit of white, okay, and I'm just gonna stroke a little bit on just to give it a nice little highlight. Okay, so you could also use your flat brush for this if you want. Okay, just to kind of give it a little bit of a highlight. Again, I'm leaving some of that darker purple showing. Okay, so blend off the excess. I'm gonna add a nice little highlight. I'm actually even gonna give it a bit of a swirl. Okay, so this is very loose and whimsical. Don't think too much, just kind of pulling. I'm not resting my hand. I'm just holding the brush almost straight up and down. And this is where that nice little sweep is going. Okay, so pulling down like this, so much fun. Okay, and the stroke at the bottom, I pull right down, and then I start at the top, pull down towards myself, and then the other way. Just to kind of fix that up, enhance the swirl there, and then a little bit more over here. Okay, so it's got a nice little finished off on the edge there. Okay, just to give him that purple, I'm gonna add a little bit right in here on those little scarf ends. Okay, again, just adding a little bit of white. Okay, and you can always come back and add a little bit more once it's dry. So just sort of stroking on that little highlight. Okay, so right in here, I'm just gonna do like a little vertical, maybe a couple little horizontal strokes. Give it a bit of a highlight. Okay. Okay, and then just dry it, and then you can come back with mostly just white, really, and just give it a few little dashes so it looks very snowy. Okay, so very frosty. Okay. Okay. Can even put a little white on the heart. Okay, and then take some white and you can add some on the hat. So just, again, just kind of brushing it, sweeping it across like this. You can add some on the nose. Okay, so just adding a few more little swirls here and there. So for his little face, we're going to actually dry brush the little cheeks on. So I'm just using a little bit of this sort of blush color. So just taking a little bit of that paint, get rid of the excess. So I didn't actually wet my brush. I just basically took a little tiny bit of paint. You can grab a nice clean paper towel and rub off the excess. So you can see I'm pressing quite hard on the brush. So there's hardly any paint. Almost rubbed off too much there. Okay, let's try that again. Okay, so basically just nice and soft, and you're just doing it in a little circular motion. Just to give him those cute little rosy cheeks. Love rosy cheeks. They just look so darn cute on these snowmen. Okay. Okay, so right in there, give him some little cheeks. And then I'm just gonna take my round brush and I'm gonna add that little face, okay? So this is just a smaller round, it's a 2. You're gonna wet your brush first, take a little bit of black, and you can paint in those eyes. Okay, so like this. Okay, the edges don't even have to be that perfect. And then I'm gonna add a couple little eyelashes. Just basically hold your brush. I'm resting my whole hand, and you basically just pull up and lift to make those little lashes. Okay. And then of course the same on this other eye. Need a little more paint to fill in. The wood's a little bit rough right there. Okay, and if you have trouble doing these lines with the brush, you can actually even use just a Sharpie. Okay, so just to make it a little easier, especially if you've got some kids that are painting along with you, if you want, they can definitely use that little trick. All right. Okay, so, and then if you want, you can even paint a little black line around your heart. All right, and then we've got white, so you can just take a little touch of white and do one little dot in the eyes to bring them to life. And sometimes I even add a little swirl in those cheeks, but you don't need to if you don't like the swirls. Okay. Okay, so to do these swirls, again, just you can pull towards yourself. My brush is straight up and down. And I just keep adding more little strokes just to fill in. So starting pulling towards myself, you can do the other side, pulling down and then sort of fill in. Okay, so I'm actually going to paint the background on this little guy. I'm just going to pick some blue and some white and just really loosely kind of give him a little bit of a color in the background. Doesn't, again, have to be perfect. It's just thought it would add some color. Okay, so just with that blue, and then I'm going to add a few little snowflakes. Okay, and then just for that finishing touch, a couple finishing touches, I'm gonna use a snowflake stencil. So these are really nice and fun to use, and I'm just gonna use my stippler brush. Okay, so get rid of all that blush color that we had on it, and I'm just gonna take a little bit of white, like so, okay, and I'm just gonna stipple a couple little snowflakes here and there. Okay, so I'm going to put a couple on his hat, maybe. Okay, so just not a lot of paint on your brush, otherwise it can go underneath the stencil and make a little bit of a mess. Okay, so just kind of enough to cover. So pretty. Okay, and then you can just do like a few more if you want. Angle them here. So stipple off the excess. Make sure there's no water in your brush. Okay, and then you're just gonna pounce a couple on his hat, wherever you want, and on the background. Touch, I'm just going to add a little bit of snow text, and this is just a textured medium. It's made by Decoart. I love it, and it looks like snow. So I'm just going to take my stippler brush. Okay, so you can take and put a little bit on your palette just with your palette knife. Okay, so you can see how textured it is. I'm even going to add a little bit more of that white paint just to make it extra creamy. Okay, and you can put a little bit on his hat. Okay, and you can actually, it might be a little bit easier if you do have a stippler brush, just to use your stippler to apply it. Okay, so you can put a little bit on the hat brim. There might be a little bit of snow sitting on there. Okay, so it's just kind of stipple it on. the top of his nose, we can add a little bit. And if you just pull down a little bit with your stippler, it'll kind of look like there's almost some little icicles. Love it. So fun. Right, there's our little snowman. Can even add a few little movement lines around those little snowflakes. All right, that's it for this little guy. I'm Holly Hanley. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you guys had fun. If you like this video, please like it or comment in the comment box. I love to hear from you, or even subscribe. I have more videos coming up soon. Happy painting.